I pretended to have amnesia after my accident to hear what my family really thought about me. The truck came out of nowhere on that rainy Tuesday morning, and the last thing I remember was my coffee mug flying through the air as metal crunched against metal. When I woke up 3 days later in the hospital, everything felt foggy and surreal, like I was watching my life through someone else's eyes. The doctors were talking about mild traumatic brain injury, temporary confusion, and how lucky I was to be alive. My wife was sitting beside my bed, her eyes red from crying, and my two teenage kids were hovering near the door looking scared and uncertain. The strange thing was, I could remember everything perfectly. Every argument we'd had, every disappointed look, every time they'd made me feel like I was just taking up space in their lives. But something about the way they were looking at me now, with this mixture of relief and guilt, made me curious. What would they say if they thought I couldn't remember who they were? What would they reveal about how they really felt about me when they thought I was essentially a blank slate? So I made the decision that would change everything. I pretended not to recognize them. I looked at my wife with confused eyes and asked who she was, watched her face crumble as she explained that she was my partner of 18 years. I stared at my kids like they were strangers and asked why they were in my room. The pain in their faces was immediate and devastating, but I told myself it was necessary. I needed to know the truth about what my family really thought of me. The first few days were the hardest part of maintaining the charade. My wife would sit beside my bed for hours, telling me stories about our life together, about how we met at a college party where I spilled beer on her favorite dress. She talked about our first apartment, how we could barely afford ramen noodles but we were happy just being together. She described our wedding day, how it rained but we danced anyway, and how I cried when she walked down the aisle. The way she told these stories, with such tenderness and love, made me realize I had forgotten how beautiful our beginning had been. My daughter, who was 16 and usually treated me like I was the most embarrassing person on earth, started bringing me photos and mementos from home. She showed me pictures of us at her school plays, at birthday parties, on family vacations where everyone was smiling and laughing. She told me about how I used to read her bedtime stories with different voices for each character, how I taught her to ride a bike in our driveway until her knees were scraped and her confidence was unshakable. She cried when she talked about how I never missed a single one of her soccer games, even when I was exhausted from work. My son, who was 14 and had been giving me nothing but attitude for the past year, surprised me the most. He sat quietly in the corner most of the time, but when he did speak, it was to tell me about memories I had assumed meant nothing to him. He talked about our weekend fishing trips, how I taught him to bait a hook and cast a line, how we would sit in comfortable silence for hours just enjoying each other's company. He mentioned the time I helped him build a treehouse in our backyard, how we spent 3 weekends measuring and hammering and creating something that was just ours. But the real revelation came when I overheard them talking outside my room one evening. My wife was crying and my daughter was trying to comfort her. She was saying how much she missed the way I used to make pancakes every Sunday morning, how I would wake up early just to have breakfast ready when everyone else got up. She talked about how I always knew exactly what to say when she had a bad day at work, how I would listen to her problems without trying to fix everything, just being present and supportive. My son chimed in, talking about how I never made him feel stupid when he didn't understand his homework, how I would sit with him for hours helping him work through math problems or science projects. He said he missed the way I would ruffle his hair when he did something good, how I always believed in him even when he didn't believe in himself. He admitted that he knew he had been treating me badly lately, but he was just going through a tough time and didn't know how to express what he was feeling. The conversation that really broke me happened about a week into my fake amnesia. I was pretending to sleep when my wife started talking to me, thinking I couldn't hear her. She was apologizing for all the times she had been short with me, all the times she had been too tired or stressed to appreciate the little things I did for our family. She talked about how I always took out the trash without being asked, how I remembered her favorite coffee order even after all these years, how I would stay up late fixing things around the house so she wouldn't have to worry about them. She admitted that she had been taking me for granted, that the routine of daily life had made her forget how much she loved me. She said she missed the way I would randomly bring her flowers, not for any special occasion, just because I saw them and thought of her. She talked about how I would watch her favorite movies with her even though I wasn't really interested, how I would massage her shoulders after long days, how I always made sure she felt heard and valued. The guilt was eating me alive, but I couldn't stop the charade now. I had learned so much about how my family really felt about me, and it was completely different from what I had imagined. All those times I thought they were annoyed with me, all those moments I felt like I was just in the way, I had been wrong. They loved me, they appreciated me, they needed me in ways I had never understood. My daughter started visiting every day after school, bringing me homework assignments and school gossip, treating me like a friend she wanted to get to know better. She would tell me about her dreams for the future, about boys she liked, about fears she had about growing up. She said she hoped that when my memory came back, I would remember that she loved me even when she was being a typical teenager. She wanted me to know that I was her hero, that she bragged about me to her friends, that she was proud to be my daughter. My son became more open than he had ever been before. He started telling me about his interests, about the video games he played, about the books he was reading. He brought me his artwork from school, sketches and paintings he had never shown me before because he was afraid I wouldn't understand. He talked about wanting to be like me when he grew up, about how he admired the way I treated people with kindness and respect, about how he wanted to be the kind of father I was. The breaking point came when I overheard my wife talking to her sister on the phone. She was crying, saying that she didn't know what she would do if I never got my memory back. She talked about how empty the house felt without my laughter, how quiet mornings were without me humming while I made coffee. She said she realized that I was the glue that held our family together, that I was the one who remembered everyone's birthdays, who planned family activities, who made sure everyone felt loved and included. She admitted that she had been so focused on the stress of daily life that she had forgotten to tell me how much she loved me. She said she missed the way I would hold her hand while we watched television, how I would kiss her forehead when she was sick, how I would listen to her talk about her day even when I was tired. She talked about how I was her best friend, her partner, her anchor in a world that often felt chaotic and overwhelming. That night, I made the decision to end the charade. I couldn't continue lying to people who loved me so much, who were suffering because they thought I had forgotten them. But I also couldn't just suddenly remember everything without some kind of explanation. I needed a way to come clean that wouldn't destroy the trust we had built, that wouldn't make them feel manipulated or betrayed. The next morning, I told them that I was starting to remember things. I said that fragments were coming back, that faces were becoming familiar, that emotions were returning even if the specific memories weren't clear yet. I started acknowledging small things, recognizing their voices, responding to their stories with appropriate emotions. I let them think that their love and patience were helping me heal, that their presence was bringing me back to myself. Over the next few weeks, I gradually returned to being myself, but I was changed by what I had learned. I started being more intentional about showing my appreciation for my family, more conscious of the little things that mattered to them. I began expressing my love more openly, hugging my kids more often, telling my wife how beautiful she was, making sure they knew how much they meant to me. The experience taught me that we often underestimate how much we mean to the people we love. We get caught up in daily routines and forget to see ourselves through their eyes. We assume that familiarity breeds contempt, that being taken for granted is inevitable in long-term relationships. But the truth is that love grows deeper with time, that appreciation exists even when it's not always expressed, that our presence in someone's life matters more than we realize. My relationship with my family transformed completely after that. My wife and I started having deeper conversations, sharing our feelings more openly, making time for each other despite our busy schedules. My kids began treating me like someone they actually wanted to spend time with, not just someone they had to tolerate. We started doing more things together, creating new memories, building stronger connections. I never told them the truth about what I had done. I couldn't bear to hurt them with the knowledge that I had deceived them during such a vulnerable time. But I carried the weight of that secret, along with the incredible gift of knowing how much I was loved. It was a burden and a blessing, a source of guilt and a foundation of strength. The accident that could have destroyed my life ended up saving it. It forced me to see myself through the eyes of the people who mattered most, to understand that I was valued and appreciated in ways I had never imagined. It taught me that love is often expressed in small actions and everyday moments, that being present and available is one of the greatest gifts we can give to our families. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had just been honest from the beginning, if I had asked my family directly how they felt about me instead of resorting to deception. But I also know that people don't always feel comfortable expressing their deepest feelings, that vulnerability is scary, that we often assume our loved ones know how we feel without us having to say it explicitly. The experience changed how I approach all my relationships now. I try to be more open about my feelings, more generous with compliments and appreciation, more present in everyday moments. I've learned that love is not just a feeling but a choice we make every day, a commitment to see the best in people even when they're not at their best. Looking back now, I realize that my family had always loved me the way I discovered they did. The problem wasn't that they didn't care about me. The problem was that I had stopped paying attention to the ways they showed their love. I had become so focused on their criticisms and complaints that I missed all the signs of affection and appreciation that were there all along. The guilt of my deception still haunts me sometimes, but it's overshadowed by the gratitude I feel for what I learned. I know now that I am loved, that I matter, that my presence in their lives makes a difference. I know that my wife sees me as her partner and best friend, that my kids are proud to call me their father, that our family is stronger because of the love we share. The accident gave me a second chance not just to live, but to truly understand what living means. It taught me that we are often our own worst critics, that we underestimate our worth and overestimate our flaws. It showed me that the people who love us see us more clearly than we see ourselves, that their perspective is often more accurate than our own self-doubt. I still think about what I learned during those weeks of pretending not to remember my life. I think about the stories my family told me, the love they expressed, the pain they felt at the thought of losing me. It reminds me every day to be present, to be grateful, to be the kind of person who deserves the love I've been given. The truth is, we all have the power to transform our relationships by simply paying attention to what's already there. We don't need dramatic accidents or elaborate deceptions to understand how much we mean to the people we love. We just need to listen, to observe, to be present in the moments that matter. My family still doesn't know what I did, and they never will. But they know that I love them, that I appreciate them, that I'm grateful for every day we have together. They know that I see them, that I hear them, that I value their presence in my life. And that's what matters most. The accident taught me that love is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet and subtle, expressed in the way someone worries about you, the way they tell your story to help you remember who you are, the way they sit beside your bed when you're vulnerable and scared. Love is in the details, in the small gestures, in the everyday moments that we too often take for granted. I'm grateful for the accident, as strange as that sounds. It gave me the greatest gift I could have asked for, the knowledge that I am truly loved, that my life has meaning, that I matter to the people who matter most to me. It's a gift that continues to shape how I live, how I love, how I show up for the people in my life. The deception was wrong, and I'll always carry that guilt. But the truth I discovered was worth everything. I learned that I am seen, appreciated, valued, and loved in ways I never imagined. I learned that my family's love for me is deeper and more enduring than I ever dared to hope. And I learned that sometimes the most profound truths are hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to pay attention.